Our reading this morning is Song of the Universe by Manish K. Mishra Marzetti. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. Listen carefully. Can you hear the song? The one sung for you when you were born. The song sung by a cosmos in motion, rejoicing at your life. You, the result. You, the outcome. You, the celebration. Listen carefully. Can you hear it still? A song of possibility. A reminder that we still have time to be who and what we need to be. Listen carefully. The vast expanse echoes a recognition that it's not always easy. Possibilities can be hard to pursue. Roads not taken, wrong turns, destinations that disappoint. Through this, the song persists. The universe sings no less because time and space wear us thin. The music calls us to recognize our limitations, to recognize that the song is best sung with others here in community, bringing alive that most primordial and original impulse, the desire to sing to the universe who we are and celebrate and share our lives with others.
Well, I'm going to sing an original song for you that I wrote earlier this week. I've been in the middle of a songwriting challenge where I've been writing a song a day, And this is one that was inspired by a writing prompt that Reverend Molly put out on Facebook a couple weeks ago called Beautiful Questions, which just led to some really beautiful questions. And that's what inspired this song. What were the songs?
That my grandmother sang when their hearts were full of doubt. Were they the same notes that I sing to you now? These melodies that I let flow out. The stars have to say to my grandfather's tired eyes. Did the moon shine in the sky the same way as I sit here and cry? Felt when the seed began to grow, and how did they tend to a broken heart, and how did they know when it was time to go? the path that they led, and someday, someday, they will be me. Ooh, oh, oh, ooh,
Thank you, Violet. Thank you. I begin my message this morning with a question. How is it that February is the shortest month, yet is so loaded with meaning and celebrations? February is about groundhogs and Imbolc and the celebration of loving relationships. It's a time when our country pauses to celebrate Black history, although most of us consider that a year-round calling. This February, we celebrate the victory of the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 57. And if that weren't enough, next Tuesday we'll celebrate the turning of the Christian calendar from Mardi Gras to Ash Wednesday in preparation for the long Lenten season. Throw in the birthdays of some old dead presidents, and it seems we're celebrating everything, everywhere, all at once. In these times, in the words of the poet, we need something like a star to stay our minds on. Amid weeks of busyness, my spouse Betsy and I recently found ourselves doing just that, gazing up at the night sky. And even amid the light pollution in St. Louis, Orion's belt beckoned to us. And Betsy reminded me of the mind-blowing truth that the starlight we were seeing was not from today, but may have been from eons ago. What we think we see in the present is an echo of the past. The present, you see, is loaded with the history of its own becoming.
Once there was no sun, I heard the angels singing. Do Lord go down, I hear the angels singing.
Our worship theme in this short but powerful month of February, in case you missed it, is interconnection. And there's no better theologian for the occasion than Bernard Loomer. Loomer, it would seem, is popular among Unitarian Universalists, given his theology of the interconnected web. It echoes our seventh principle, which affirms the interdependent web of existence of which we are a part. And as the stars would have it, Loomer himself had personal connections with at least one member of this congregation, Sue Tillema. I know she'll be happy to tell you the stories of her relationship. Loomer was a process theologian. Now, if you ever want to learn more about process theology, let me know and we can have coffee sometime. And then we'll have to have coffee about 12 more times. It's complicated. But here's the essence. Here's the essence of it. The universe is in the process of constant unfolding, where one event leads to another event, each informing the next. And this means that relationality is everything. The concept of God itself is all about the interplay of dynamic relationships that dance and wrestle and create each other in this never-ending process of becoming. And because of this intertwined becoming, for both good and for evil, we find ourselves in an interconnected matrix of relationships. Says Loomer, we create the web, and the web creates us. Or, if that's complicated, you could choose something like a star and listen to the ancient music of the universe.
Once there was no moon, I heard the angels singing. To Lord go down, I heard the angels singing.
The twinkling starlight that contains the history of its own becoming reminds us that our interconnected web is not only in the here and now. It is also temporal. Borrowing a beautiful metaphor from another theologian, Sally McFaig, all of us, including all beings, all plants, all rocks and minerals, all planets and moons and suns, have a common origin story. Some would call this common origin God. Others would call it the Big Bang. But the beautiful thing is, it doesn't really matter which you call it. We are all made of stardust, connected in time as the universe continues to unfold into existence. So yes, we lift up our seventh principle, affirming our reverence for the interconnected web of existence of which we are a part. And yes, our spiritual practice calls us to be aware of these relationships between and among people, and our deep interrelatedness to plants and animals and oxygen and minerals. Yes, a stone dropped into a pond creates ripples that extend outward, teaching us that our actions and our inactions have consequences. Yet, my sense is that something is missing from our usual interpretation of the seventh principle. I think sometimes the metaphor of the interconnected web invites us to think of a spider's web. It's woven with beautiful, intricate connections. And you see that when you view it from the front. But look at it from the side. Look at it from the side. It's as thin as a single strand of silk. It has no depth. Loomer's theology allows us to expand our view of the interconnected web to be multidimensional. Not just horizontal relationships, but a deep relational matrix of interconnection that goes in every direction across time and space. Everything, everywhere, all at once. And this invites us into a deeper spiritual practice. When we see a sparrow darting across our path, we are in the presence of tiny dinosaurs. When we put our hands into the earth to care for our gardens, we are sifting through ancient lives. The air we breathe has been breathed in by pharaohs and breathed out by ancient rainforests. And when we turn our faces toward the night sky, we sense pulses of light from the Big Bang. And so too are connections among humankind. When we encounter the face of a young child, we see her mother, we see her grandmother, her ancestors. When she speaks, in her English words, we hear Saxons and Romans and the Wolof of West Africa.
Once there was no light, I heard the angels singing. Do Lord go down, I heard the angels singing.
But make no mistake, Loomer's theology is not just about feel-good connections. Like every theological system, it has to account for evil. Theodicy, they call it. Why do bad things happen? Loomer and process theologians in general point to the never-ending process of becoming as the way evil happens too. Loomer writes that God is expressed as the organic restlessness of the whole body of creation. This discontent, which is an expression of the essential spirit of any creature, may exemplify itself as an expansive urge toward greater good, but it may also become a passion for greater evil. The beauty of this theology and the challenge to us is that it declares we are participants in the ongoing creation. Loomer's God doesn't control the outcomes. We make choices for good or evil. And our choices collide with other choices made by others, and the future changes just a little, or maybe a lot. Never forget the last part of our seventh principle. Many of us do. The interconnected web of existence of which we are a part. Of which we are a part. We are participants in systems of nurturing, systems of healing, and also systems of racism and oppression. History repeats itself when we're not paying attention. But we are called to a spiritual practice of mindfulness that helps us remain fully aware of what is. The same spiritual practice that hears dinosaurs in songbirds invites us to go deeper and embrace the interconnections between what was, what is, and what will be. What can be. What must be.
Oh, this dark world, I heard the angels singing. Do Lord go down, I heard the angels singing.
There are many dimensions of our existence where our interconnections across time are ripe for understanding. Our relationship to the earth, the interplay of culture and race, and the evolution of music are three that we're exploring here today. I recently had the good fortune to encounter a new prophet of the interconnected web. Jake Blunt is an African-American roots musician with a queer, non-binary identity and an Afro-futurist outlook. His musical art weaves together the strands of climate change and race and culture and expresses them through the melting pot of American roots music. When Betsy and I recently encountered him on the stage in St. Louis, we were seeing stars once again. The song lyrics that Isatu has been reading are taken from one of the tracks on Blunt's latest album. The words are from a folk tune that Blunt learned from a Miss Bessie Smith. This song celebrates the Hebrew creation story. You know, the one from Genesis. But with a sobering twist. Once there was no sun, once there was no moon, can also, Blunt says, remind us of the pending calamity of climate change because we have the power to unmake creation. In this masterpiece of an album titled The New Faith, Blunt fuses Black and indigenous roots music with modern-day hip-hop and Afrofuturism. He dares to ask, what would Black music sound like after climate change renders most of the world uninhabitable? What gods would this community praise, and what stories would they tell? Positioning him in the emerging Afrofuturist canon, Blunt's album interweaves music with a story about a band of Black folks who survive a human-created climate catastrophe. And this music and poetic journey leaves you delighted, exhausted, and changed forever. The New Faith is an invitation to a new, deeper spiritual practice. It invites us to revere the struggle of becoming that connects past, present, and future. Roots music is the foundation. Fiddle, banjo, electric guitar. As Blunt describes it, African and European folk music cultures began to intertwine right on the decks of slave ships as white slave owners played while Africans danced. From 1619 onward, roots music belonged to all of us. Thanks to this blending of cultures, we recognize the elements of Black Christianity. Biblical references to rain and floods and liberation, all of which were echoes of ancient Hebrew stories. Then as we move forward through time musically, we hear hip-hop influences woven into the folk tunes that flesh out the stories of climate catastrophe. Then he weaves in another strand. Afrofuturist science fiction inspired by Octavia Butler, and the weaving of stories of Black leadership and a journey toward hope and survival as these characters start a new world. One that makes new choices that will change our relationships and change the future.
Oh, I am so glad I hear the angels singing, "Do Lord come, go down." I heard the angels singing.
Returning briefly to Bernard Loomer, we discover in the end the key ingredient of his theology of interconnection: love. Here's what he writes about love, which is worth quoting at length. Love does not create our essential interrelatedness. Love is an acknowledgement of it. We love because we are bound to each other, because we live and are fulfilled in, with, and through each other. When we reach out toward the other in sympathy or compassion or love, we acknowledge our oneness. In responding appropriately to the other, we are both fulfilled through that act. And life within the web of relationships is advanced. All the religious virtues are virtues of relationship. In short, love does not create the world. It recreates and redeems it. So this is our spiritual practice, to contemplate the interconnectedness of all beings and all things. When we encounter another, we can learn to perceive more deeply, to see the history of hurt and joy and struggle that is contained within a single tear. As we wipe away the tear, we touch eternity. We touch something like a star and hear the angels singing. Amen. Blessed be.